Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're here to talk to you about incorruptible saints.
Yes, we have a viewer question, which they actually asked this in May, so we're closer.
Pretty close.
Hey!
This one required a lot less research and headache medicine.
Far fewer headaches than double predestination.
Oh,
All right,
so much pain. So,
yes.
our viewer...
So the short answer is yes. No one would be a saint if they'd accepted bribes, therefore they were all incorruptible. Thank you very much for your question.
No.
All right.
Viewer...
Every saint actually did accept bribes. Apparently that's holy now. Thank you for your question.
One of our very frequent viewers, Angie Sitzes...
One of our favorite viewers.
After the whole double predestination thing...
Makes my head hurt.
When asked us what our thoughts were on the incorrupt remains of saints.
Ah, yes. That kind of incorruptible.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Doesn't it, though? Because, you assume that, most saints weren't going to, give in to bribery. But, yeah, at the same time, you don't hear too many stories that actually involve bribery. So, clearly I won't be a saint because I can be bribed on occasion. But...
So, incorruptible saints, what do we got? What do we think?
Well, I figured first we could just do our thoughts. It's technically asked, what do we think about this?
All right.
And then I can actually explain, what they are and stuff.
Nice. So, all mortal flesh is subject to decay. Sometimes, even once the soul is separated from the body doesn't decay. This is kind of cool. It's something God does, only sometimes, to point to the sanctity of one of his saints. And I've always thought of it in terms of our resurrection bodies, where no more will there be any corruption, no more will there be any pain or any tears. So it's sort of a foretaste of that. Because one day, our flesh won't be subject to decay. Once we have our sweet resurrection bodies, when we're sunning ourselves.
But I don't really want this one back.
Well, you don't get a choice.
No, I'm just saying. I want the good version of this one.
No, it'll be perfected.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one is not.
No. But it's still this side the veil.
That's fair. I'm just saying.
Sure. But this is not that.
No, this is not that.
I know a man, a seemingly good and pious man, who has said, I'm just driving a minivan. If God wants to give me another minivan, that's fine. We will not be reincarnated. You will not get a new minivan.
No.
You will get the one you have now perfected.
Yeah, no.
And the incorruptibility of the saints points to that.
It does. Personally, I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on it. It happens sometimes. Mm-hmm. At the same time, there are some biological process. There are certain circumstances that we have found which happens to slow down or even completely negate certain biological processes.
I have seen a fog man. That's cool.
Yes. So
or mummification.
While I will not discount the miracleness of it,
mm-hmm.
at the same time, God's got his reasons for doing it. Whether or not he does it is up to him.
Yeah.
And as far as what that needs to mean to me, I just need to respect the fact that that's how that works.
Well, I will say one cool thing about incorruptibility is that it does make some of our really weird Catholic stuff easier. Like, to disperse the relics among places, so that some place can have, the glove of Thanos hand. Someplace else can, a couple years ago there was a tour of the heart of St. John Vianney going around the country. Some places had the head of Catherine of Siena. So if the body's not crumbled to dust, that makes relic hunting a lot more fun.
It does.
I love Catholic weirdness.
How about you, Jess? What are your thoughts on incorruptibility?
Well, I think there's probably a reason, both natural and supernatural, why it happened a lot more in the past.
Great grace builds on nature.
Yes, natural in that there's probably a lot of cases in which there was perfectly reasonable reasons why this happened that they just didn't know about. Mm-hmm. And also the fact that back then it would have been seen much more of a miracle.
Yeah.
Like nowadays there's people all around the world that travel to see in Italy, there's a 3-year-old that died. That the parents put all their money into making sure that she was preserved. And you can look at her now. She's sometimes called Sleeping Beauty. Her actual name was Rosalia Lombardo. But you can see her now, and it's cool and stuff.
Is this the way the communists kept Lenin's body around and preserved?
No, because they don't keep working on it.
Okay.
But she's in a catacomb, so she's pretty preserved, and then they put all the stuff in. So it's one of those things where it's like, in the modern day, we know the science of how you could do it, artificially.
Yeah.
So it's not as impressive to us.
Yeah, it's literally not miraculous. You can perfectly explain it.
Mm-hmm. But anyway.
That's sad. You gotta let her go, man.
I think, in a way, they did, because I believe they're all dead already.
Fair enough.
Old age.
Fair enough.
If you get to the weird part of the internet, they suggest that she blinks, but it's like the light as it changes throughout the day.
Are you suggesting there's a non-weird part of the internet?
Yes, there are less weird parts.
Less weird, okay.
But anyway, so now that we all talked about Incorruptible Saints, you might be like, all right, so is this like a zombie thing or something?
That's when the dead rose after the Lord's resurrection in Jerusalem.
Yes.
That was the zombie thing.
Yeah. But the part of the thing is, there's no exact definition of what an incorruptible body is.
And I know that the pastor's wife was disappointed on a visit to Rome, saw an incorruptible saint. Like, I mean, they weren't perfectly preserved.
No.
So it doesn't mean that they're lifelike, like they might wake up at any moment.
No, especially in the case of there's a number of ones where a saint only one body part was deemed incorruptible. So there's a reliquary with one of the saint's tongues.
also we have to remember that even in the case of the incorruptibles, they are missing one very important thing, which would cause them to look less lifelike, which is the animating soul,
the anima.
I mean, I've never seen a body that once dead really looked all that much like it did alive.
And when you see a dead person, there's something in you that knows this is very distinct from someone who's asleep.
Anyway, so the modern guidelines on what incorrupt is come from Pope Benedict XIV.
Okay.
From around 1734.
Yeah,
some sources say 1730. Some, and he wrote on the beatification and canonization of saints, and also he was known as the Enlightenment Pope because he was very interested in the scientific method. So his personal thoughts were that in most cases there's a natural reason for this, and we just don't know it.
Yeah,
which is part of the reason why this is not one of the miracles that can get you sainted.
Yes. Yes. Well, I get that's why those are almost always medical, because there needs to be clear documentation of before and after and
in between.
And experts who say, yeah, there's no way that happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the main point was the body needed to be flexible.
Okay.
And also having a color and a freshness to it were on the list as well. And it only referred to...
So no moldy spots.
Yes. It only referred...
That's a scent.
Well, part of it could be moldy, part of it not. And it only referred to, essentially, the first time that they unburied a person as in the process of declaring.
Because after that, there could have been all kinds of corruption.
Yes. Yep. In fact, there's a number of ones that were declared to be incorruptible, and then they said, let's put this acid on them to preserve them more. And in some cases, they now look like a bog mummy.
Yep.
And in some cases, they're like, and so they completely destroyed the entire body.
That's like That's like the fact that they bled George Washington to death. You're doing the exact wrong thing.
Yes.
Look, we just need to get more blood out, and he'll be fine.
More of those ill humors.
Yeah.
And also the fact that you had to not have used any known preserving techniques at the time beforehand. So now, since the 80s, they've been going through a lot of the saints that are considered incorruptible, and there's a lot of questions because quite often they then did something afterwards. So there's all these signs that they've been worked on with preserving techniques. And it's like, we don't know if they did this before they were buried or afterwards.
Or only since the... Yep. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why there's no set list of how many incorruptible saints there are.
Yeah.
Most people that believe that there are ones say about 100-ish.
Well, plus there's things like the blood miracle of Saint Januarius.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, we don't have any of the rest of him. Just
just that.
Just the ampule blood, which often is solid, and then every now and again liquefies.
Yes. Fun fact: I'm Pope Benedict the XIV. He was in the official title beforehand of being Pope of being the
Promotor Fidei.
Promoter of the faith, which is the
was
devil's
also
advocate.
known as the devil's advocate.
Nice.
So he did a lot of stuff with determining if someone was a saint or not.
See, I like that. It means he's thorough.
And he was willing to look at all the potential contrary positions.
Well, again, this is something that we still do in the canonization process. We no longer use the title the devil's advocate.
No, but we need to bring that back.
Dude, totally. Absolutely.
Bring it back.
Get on that. Vatican people who are watching this.
Yeah. And also, if you see what appears to be a saint in a glass coffin, it could be that they are an incorruptible saint, or it could not be.
Yeah.
Because in most cases, at the very least, they've been coated with a layer of wax. Some ones are completely waxen figures, and then either inside the wax will be their bones, or underneath.
Well, it's just like when you go to the Vatican, you can see the fancy chair of St. Peter. Yeah. The real chair is deep inside there. You can't get to it.
Yeah. So, they're in the same church, there's, two saints that are done like this. One which is, considered incorruptible, and they've actually done minimal, work afterwards. And the other one where it's like this whole cloth, we've just made this body out of what we know she looks like.
This is like Madame Tussauds.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Also, by doing some researching, I found that a book that I happened to have read earlier called The Incorruptibles is apparently the only book in the English language on this.
Huh.
And
That's
she did a lot of
disappointing.
her research based off of a Spanish book that, is out of print. So, and this is one where she takes it very much, I looked up and actually asked people, can you prove to me that, they're actually, incorruptible? But it's very much if they say, yeah, they're preserved, she's like, it must be a miracle.
Gotcha. So, the exact opposite of Benedict XIV.
Yeah. Also, as one would expect, there are incorruptible saints in the Orthodox churches. However, completely surprisingly...
They haven't changed in a very long time.
No. Not only do they not count that as a proof that someone is a saint, but according to the Third Synod of Moscow from 1666, it is equally possible that if you find a unpreserved yet, still lifelike body of someone, they were incredibly evil, and that's why they were preserved.
They made a deal with the devil.
Well, yeah. Or kind of like the story of, the jack-o'-lantern one, where, heaven doesn't want them, hell doesn't either. They're just so horrible that, even hell's like, nah, I'm not even going to decay you.
The entire afterlife has rejected them.
And
Side note, not a thing.
And in some Jewish traditions, they also believe that some of the prophets' body were incorruptible. For example, some say that Baruch's body was incorruptible. However, others say that his body was taken up to heaven when he died, like some of the other, prophets.
Nice.
By Baruch, she means Baruch.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just clarifying for those individuals who maybe heard you say that and thought that you were referring to the former president.
All from the same root.
Yes.
From the word meaning blessing.
Well, yes. No, I'm just...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I was trying to look it up because I read it in one place, and they're like, the blessing of the dead. I'm like, that's helpful, but not what I'm looking for.
I wanted the other thing. See, although I like the corruptible prophets, like when they threw some guy onto the bones of Elijah the prophet, and he came back to life.
Well, the legend about him being uncorruptible was a similar one in that they had his grave and someone went in there and they died because they were a horrible sinner and they couldn't touch the prophet, and then they finally got like some Jewish leaders that were holy enough to look in, and they're like, all right, there's a couple dead bodies, and the prophet looks exactly the same as when he was put in.
There's a couple skeletons of horrible sinners. No, but he looks good.
But on that note, I could totally see why it would have been why at least in the early stages, it would have been seen as such a boon for a individual, as you would look at these agents of decay as being related more closely to death than to life. And so therefore, if those agents of decay, bugs and other things, aren't, we'll say, willing to touch the body, then it must be so far from what they're more attached to, kind of a thing.
By that logic, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, and a number of the saintly people of olden days were either priests or nuns, and therefore they had very simple burials where we put them in the dirt with just the shroud. This doesn't seem right.
we had a tomb in a crypt underground where it's dry and cool and
no, this dude was buried under a tree.
Oh,
there's no way he should still be here.
Also, the future patron saint of video gaming and Pokemon
Was it Carlo Acutis?
is not an Incorruptible. When they removed his body and had a showing, they used wax and other things to make him look more lifelike in the thing.
Well, plus he was probably subjected to all the modern procedures, filled with formaldehyde and whatever else they do.
As that was also a thing that many people ask, because you look at it and you're like, yeah, that looks like it.
Well, on a positive note,
Everybody loves a good old death mask.
If by some chance I end up becoming incorruptible, everyone will know that it was definitely a miracle.
And the people running the crematorium are going to be, having nightmares.
Nightmares.
We just won't burn!
We put his body into the furnace. We left him in there twice as long as we're supposed to.
They're checking the gas feeds.
And the box was burned. Just Ash. But him. Completely untouched.
Him and his hat.
Yeah, I'm going to assume it's like, the mythology they made for why Superman's clothes don't destroy, about how you got a half an inch that, all around
aura. Yeah.
Not even a good sear on him.
All right, so we hope we answered your question.
Hey, the question was our personal thoughts. We got those.
We hope that either we answered your question, or B, we have given you so many more. Because what we want you to do is we want you to take those questions, send them in to us, so we can do more videos like this.
Maybe you want to know what saint's tongue is the only part of them that was incorruptible, because I forgot to write that down. Or you weren't here 2 years ago when we pointed out the relic that looks way too much like the hand of Thanos, and you're like, what?
That one was so awesome.
St. Teresa of Avila, it's a thing.
Or, maybe you have a question as to which, relic we would like to have if we had the opportunity to possess a relic.
Ooh.
So, go down below and
ask us a question.
Leave it in the comments there. Maybe at the same time you have a comment about something we said in this episode. Maybe you
many questions.
Maybe you think we're crazy to even believe that the miraculous incorruptibility is a thing. Or maybe you think that we don't give it enough credit for the miracle that it should be.
We're always looking for our naturalistic explanations.
Exactly. While you're down there, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you get notified when new episodes come out.
And don't be afraid to share this episode with your friends.
It's about dead bodies.
Don't be afraid to share this episode with not your friends.
With your enemies.
Yeah.
I don't know, if you send your enemies a video about dead bodies, it seems to imply something.
It's a little threatening. Maybe that's the message you want to get
across.
It will
knock them on their heels and keep them on their toes.
And until next time.
Remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.